We got some big news that just came out to Marvel Snap. Find out what's going on as I hereby summon all my imps to join me on my adventure through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So we got brand new big news that just came out today, and that news is that 7-day drops are back. Yay! Okay, so obviously I know that's not the big news. We're going to talk about the patch that just came out. And in a move of second dinner that basically surprised absolutely nobody, Red Hulk got a nerf. This was the card that pretty much everybody knew was going to get nerfed. In fact, I'm almost shocked it took him this long to nerf it. So, Red Hulk got changed from being a 6'11 to a 6'9, which is almost the nerf I had for him, believe it or not. I had the same nerf for him in my book of stuff when I wanted to have nerf, but in my nerf he also only gave plus 3 power instead of plus 4 power, and I still thought that was kind of fair, still kind of on par. So I'm not sure this is going to do anything, because if you look at Red Hulk still, and you look at the power spike that happens here, if you go with the power spike, with one power spike on him, he moves up to a 17. Sorry, to a 13. Which puts him one under Agatha. He gets 2 power spikes on him and he moves up to a 17. Which puts him one over Destroyer. And 3 spikes puts him to 21, which puts him one over Infinite. That's still going to be a big spike card. When a card gets nerfed by that much and it still doesn't feel like it's enough, means that that card was pretty important when it came out. Also, you could almost consider this a pseudo buff to Red Hulk, as now it'll avoid Shang-Chi, and if your opponent can't play perfectly on turn 6, they get to just do nothing to it because Shang-Chi can't take it down at that point, and they still get the 13-point swing at the end. Now that's just a little bit bigger than Hulk at that point, but that's still a lot to talk about. So other than the nerf to Red Hulk, every other card that came out in this patch is actually a buff. First one up that we're going to talk about is US Agent. US Agent went from giving out -3 power to now giving out -4 power. I played this card when it first came out. I actually got it in a spotlight. And I think this card got the raw end of the shield, for lack of a better word. Everybody was saying this card was trash, it was horrible. I played it, I found it to be a good card. Not the best card in the world, not a meta breaker. But like, I think everybody went too harsh on this card. I think it's a fair card. I think it's an honest card, which is kind of funny for being an evil person, that it's a fair, honest card. This does bring up the whole idea that we have to talk about pretty much in this patch, if not in next patch. Captain America. At this point, who wants to play Captain America? Honestly, you look at US Agent, you look at Captain America, and you sit there and go, why? You could probably change Captain America up to like a 4 or 5 at this point, and give him +3s to 1s, 2s, and 3s, and even throw in 0s in there. Because he's known for helping out the little guys, protecting the little guys. That would be such a neat change for it. Be basically the opposite of US Agent, and would just be awesome. Why would you ever play Captain America? Why is this card of US Agent so much better than Captain America at this point? Next card up that got a slight change to it is Jean Grey. Jean Grey went from a 3-3 to a 3-4. This card is kind of interesting at this point in the game because of the fact that the whole Jean Grey-ish deck has been right on the edge of being playable, And with this one extra point, it might push it over to starting to see some sort of gameplay. Especially with the changes that have come out recently, like the card of White Widow, where on turn 1 you can play the Nebula, turn 2 you play the White Widow, and turn 3 you play the Jean Grey, and it's just punishing to your opponent. The fact is that she's always going to be interestingly hard to play because of the fact that not only does your opponent have to play there, you've got to play there. Now that can be overcome with something like Kitty Pryde, but it's still something that you've got to pay attention to every single time you play her. Next up is Stature. Stature got changed back from a 5'6" to a 5'7". If I remember correctly, this is where she started. And it's kind of sad, kind of funny, kind of ironic that so many of these cards that we used to think were broken a year ago are now fair at the power point that they had them a year ago. And that might be the effect of power creep showing up. That might be the effect of now there's just more cards that you can play into some of these decks. Good change for Stature. Next up is the Lady Jane Foster, who went from a 5'8" to a 5'9". I'm calling this the Shang-Chi buff. Pretty much so many cards that used to be 8 cost have been bumped up to 9. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future you saw more 8 cards get bumped up to 9. This is all because of Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi used to kill stuff that was at 9. Now that it's moved up to kill stuff that's at 10, you're okay with having stuff like Lady Jane Foster and it not dying to the Shang-Chi. Would like to see a resurgence of the Beta Ray Thor-ish deck. Might be a little bit too hard to pull off with how Lockjaw is at this point, though. I think it has a lot more to do with where Lockjaw is at this point than what Lady Jane Foster is really doing for this. And last, and possibly least, is Mantis. Mantis got a change from being a 2-2 to a 2-1. She still works exactly the same. You have to find the card to get the card. And that's the problem for every single time. This is the same problem that White Widow has. You get the card, but because you get the card and you have to play it a turn later than your opponent, it's very awkward. Even though White Queen gets the biggest card in your opponent's hand, the highest card in your opponent's hand, sometimes you can't even play it because your opponent's not playing a card that makes sense to you. Even if Mantis didn't have the Bind It text on it, I'm not sure it would be a good card. Do a White Queen on your side of your opponent's highest card they played this turn. Even on turn 1, even on turn 2, even on a flex turn where you're just throwing this in to flex out the energy. What are the odds that your opponent played something that made sense to you? It would almost make more sense for Mantis to be a leader, to have the same effect as leader, but then have to find the card. And that would almost seem fair. So those are all the nerfs and buffs that we had this week. Going back to the start of the intro though, I do want to just take a moment to give a quick kudos to Second Dinner for bringing back the 7-day login. I know I was joking about it, but it is something nice for them to do. And every single time that Second Dinner does something like this, where they don't have to do something like this, it's a really nice reward for everybody. I do bash Second Dinner sometimes, but that's because it comes from a place of love and a place of wanting this game to be better. But this is actually a nice reward for them to having. I Twice it happened last month, once it happened this month. I'm glad to see this being more of a reoccurring thing, more of a thing that you can look forward to, maybe hope for, maybe quasi-expect. Maybe it still could be just a nice treat where it's like you don't expect it, but it's nice when it shows up. But it's really good of second dinner doing this. Last but not least, because I can't leave on a nice note, second dinner, please, either A, change the weekend mission so that it now gives out gold again if you own the season pass card, or B, announce it that's the way it's gonna go going forward. There's a part of me that enjoys the fact that you're giving out more credits so that a person who doesn't own the season pass gets more out of it every single month, but a lot of people bought the season pass because they were expecting the gold. And in the past 3 weeks, you haven't given out gold in the season pass card. So if somebody bought that expecting that gold, they're out already 600 gold for that. If that's what you want to do going forward, fine. I'm not here to tell you to do anything different than that, but just announce it so then people know whether or not they should buy the season pass. Anyways, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.